Welcome, everybody. We will go ahead and call the work session to order. Clerk, will you call the roll?
Corliss.
Here.
Halliburton.
Here.
Morales.
Here.
Nash.
Here.
Stud.
Here.
Willett. 5 present, 1 absent.
Thank you. First up, we've got Kyle Patterson. Welcome for an update on the Department of Org Effectiveness.
Madam Mayor, council members. There we go. Madam Mayor, council members, my name is Kyle Patterson. I'm the director of the newly created Department of Organizational Effectiveness, which I might call OE because it's really hard for me to get out the full organizational effectiveness. Really pleased here to be here tonight. My first time presenting to you all as a director. And I just wanted to thank you all first for creating this department and for investing in this department. I'm really excited about the work that we're going to be doing, and I think we're going to add a lot of value to the city. So my goals for tonight in this update are threefold. One, since we are a new department, to share a little bit more about what we do, how we work, where we're going as a department, highlight some early wins, some sort of concrete examples of the work we're doing, and talk about some focus areas looking into the summer and next fiscal year. So my definition for organizational effectiveness is really simple. An effective organization is one that achieves its goals, right? And that's really our mission as a department, to help the city achieve its goals. But to do that, we sort of need an organizational ecosystem in place. And like an ecosystem in nature that has to exist in balance of each other, where we have a strong vision for where we're going. What do we want for the community, for our organization over the next 10, 20, 30 years, right? And then over the next 3 to 5 years, we have to be really clear about what our goals are, what our priorities are. What does success look like for us? What do we really need to accomplish to make sure we get to that long-term vision? And then this year, we want to make sure we're working on the right projects that were most likely to get us to those midterm goals. And we have to execute on those effectively. And then we got to measure progress because, we might pick a strategy that doesn't work. We might do a project that doesn't get the outcomes we hoped. That's to be expected. But as long as we're measuring progress, we can know that and pivot as needed. And so the work of org effectiveness is really about creating this ecosystem within the city. And what we do really is to partner to advance city goals and to bring our expertise to the table to sort of grow city impact. So I want to share a little bit about our areas of expertise as a department. This isn't an exhaustive list. There's others, but these are sort of the core ones. Strategic planning, that's that part of the ecosystem where we're setting clear goals. And I'll talk a little bit more about our plans on that front in a moment. There's enterprise portfolio and project management. I know it's a bit jargony, but that's that part of the ecosystem that's about ensuring we're doing the right projects this year and making sure we're getting resources to the right projects this year to help us achieve our goals. We also have many project managers on staff who will be directly working on managing projects that are a high priority for the city. We have performance analytics, which is, again, that part of the ecosystem about measuring progress. And so that group will be working on creating the structures and the framework for how we measure how we're doing as a city, but then also executing on high priority data and evaluation projects. And I'll talk about some of the work with the modern zoning code in a moment there. Business process improvement, a great example of this was a project that I led a few years back in close partnership with the clerk's office, with Central District Health, with PDS, Planning and Development Services, on streamlining the in-home child care facility licensing process. Again, a mouthful, but I got it out. And we worked in partnership to take the average license time for that license, the time it takes to get a license, from 90 days, and we're able to get it down to 30 days, which is a huge benefit to our residents who are going through the process, to our staff who have to do the work. We're able to get the fee down by about $200. Again, just by streamlining that process and making it easier for folks, we could charge less money. So that's just a great example of the type of projects we'll be doing on that front in the future. And finally, change management. Looking forward, I think change is going to be a constant in the city as we evolve our organization to meet the needs of our residents, and we want to make sure we're managing that effectively. And in all of those areas of expertise, I see there being two sides to the work, right? One side is really just getting stuff done, executing well on high priority projects to really show value. But then the second side is really more about the long-term investment in our city and our organization. How do we build capabilities? Just a specific example, one of our functions is around change management. We don't have the staffing to manage every change the city does, nor should we do that, right? We will play a key role on big changes that we're making that are really important. But then we also want to build capabilities around change management for the whole city through trainings and toolkits and setting standards and developing communities of practice so that there's lots of folks across the city who have that skill set around change management that they can bring to bear if there's changes happening in their department. And I think early in our time as a department, we'll be mostly focusing on the left side of this because I think it's really important that we be able to show near-term value for our department. But over time, I'd like to shift some of our resources to that longer-term capacity building and capability building. I think it's really important to the success of our organization. So I know that was maybe a bit abstract about our work. So I wanted to provide a couple of concrete examples of projects that we've completed or in progress on, I think that really reflect the work that we want to do as a department. What you see up here is a picture of the Watershed Water and Climate Center, which opened just a couple of months ago. And one of our project managers actually managed this project. Of course, it was a great partnership with Public Works, who brought their expertise in climate action and educational programming. But we brought our expertise in project management. I think by working together, we ended up in a much better outcome. Really excited in the end state of that. I know I've been there a couple of times already with my daughter who loves it. I checked this morning, I think we're at about 5,500 total visits since we opened, which is a big deal. And I think the number's going to start accelerating as well. So just a great example of how we could bring our expertise to the table to really amplify the impact of a project. Another one's around the modern zoning code. Obviously, we all know it's a big policy. It has the potential to really positively shape the future of our city. But I'm a firm believer that good policy doesn't end at a single cancel vote, right? We need to implement that policy effectively for it to work. We need to build data-driven feedback loops into it so you as decision makers have the information you need to understand if it's working, if it's meeting the goals you have for it, and where it's not, what changes need to happen. And so we've been leading the efforts, again, in partnership with Planning and Development Services. They bring their expertise in land use policy and housing policy and the goals of the zoning code, and we bring our expertise in data and evaluation. And so next week, actually, you get to hear from me even more. I'll be presenting on some of this work in more detail. So that's some stuff we've been working on. Looking forward, a few things that I see us focusing on this summer. One is cultivating partnerships. Everything we do is in partnership with others in the city. And so to do that, we need to build trust with folks. And folks need to know who we are and what we do too. Similar to this conversation we're having today, I want staff around the city to know what we're doing. And so we're planning some communications work. We'll do a little open house in our office where people can come and meet us and learn what we're doing so we can build those partnerships. The second one is the one that I'm probably the most excited about because I'm a strategic planning nerd, but building that strategic planning framework, right? We've never had a citywide strategic plan that I'm aware of. Most departments have a strategic plan, but they all use a different time horizon and language and approach. So our future state that we're aiming for is one in which we have a clear citywide strategic plan, all departments have a strategic plan, and that all those things are sort of unified and aligned so we're rowing in the same direction. And that strategic plan is really the backbone of our work as organizational effectiveness too, because again, we can't make sure we're working on the right projects this year if we're not clear what our goals are, right? We can't measure progress unless we're clear on what our goals are. So really looking forward to co-creating that along with others in the city. We'll also be prioritizing city projects for fiscal year 26. And part of that work will be about determining what projects our org effectiveness department will be working on. And then finally, we need to model what we're going to ask from other departments, right? If we're going to tell our departments they need to have a strategic plan, they need to have performance measures, we kind of need to have that too. Since we're a new department, we don't have that yet, but that'll be an area of focus this summer as well. And just in closing, I wanted to share a few of my values as a leader, excuse me. I have these posted on my wall by my desk to hold myself accountable. But one is really, not surprisingly, partnership. I really care about that. I think when we collaborate with others, we just get to better outcomes, and it's really important to the work that we do. Progress, sometimes the progress we make will be slower and incremental as a department. Sometimes it will be fast and transformative, but no matter what, it's really important to me that we make progress every day. Service, community impact is deeply important to me. Is why I come to work every day, but I really strive to be a servant leader to the staff in my department as well. And then joy, working isn't always fun. That's why they pay us, but it's important to me that we in our department take the work incredibly seriously, but we don't take ourselves too seriously. But that completes my presentation. Happy to answer any questions you have.
Madam Mayor. I told Kyle that we'd have lots of questions for him. So I do have a few. So
Yes.
first is, and I apologize if I missed this. Who's we? Can you tell us about your department a little bit?
Oh,
Who's on
yes.
them? How many folks do you have? And
Yeah.
kind of what's the makeup of the department?
Thank you. Great question. So we have about 15 staff when we're fully staffed. We have a couple of positions that are still open that we're hiring for. And really, they'll exist in 3 divisions. So one is that enterprise portfolio and project management office, where we have a group of project managers who are going to be directly managing projects for the city. Watershed's an example. Our project managers also manage the ARPA program and big projects like that. We have one division there. A second division is that performance analytics division, that really data and analysis, where we have a senior manager and then 2 analysts. We're hiring for a second one now. So if you're interested in that job, please apply. That'll be working on, developing performance measures, helping departments use data more effectively. And then the third one is called City Strategy and Continuous Improvement, which will be leading strategic planning efforts, also change management, and then continuous improvement work like the process improvement stuff that we talked about. And there will be 2 staff in that group.
And then the folks that are in that department, I mean, are they in your department, or are they your department?
Yes.
Are they embedded within other departments? How does that work?
Yeah, they're in our department. It was really early January when we formally came together in person in an office space for the first time. And so it's a mix of staff who previously worked in some other departments, IT and finance and HR, who were sort of consolidated into this one group with the idea that there's some real synergies to had by all working together and rowing in the same direction. And then there's some new staff as well who are new to the city that we're hiring. So it's a nice mix of folks, but we are formally in an office space together. You just come visit us sometime. We'll actually do it. I think June 3rd, we're planning a grand opening. We're trying to convince the mayor to do a fun ribbon cutting. We'll see if that works out. We'll have some games and food and stuff.
Wonderful. And then just a couple more that'll be pretty quick. So if other departments are wanting to engage with your services, are they reaching out to you saying, hey, we need some help in this area? Are you reaching out to them saying, hey, we think that there's some opportunities here? How is that working?
Yeah, a little bit of both. Right now, I mean, I've been fortunate enough to work for the city long enough. I have relationships with folks are constantly being like, oh, can you help us with this thing, which we love. We want to get a little bit more formal and making sure we're working on the most important stuff. So that gets back to that piece that I talked about this summer of doing a project prioritization process for the city as a whole to make sure we're working on the right projects, but using that as a formal inspout for the work we'll do next year, because we want to make sure we're going to have more requests for work than we can possibly do. Yep. So we want to make sure we're sort of prioritizing our efforts and our resources for the most important things.
Perfect. And then the last thing I think is just a comment. One, I'm really excited about the work that you're doing. I think that there's something to be said for trying to figure out ways to not always do more, but to do things better, which usually translates out to getting more stuff done. And I'm really excited when you're talking about partnerships and collaboration. I really do think that we're in a time where collaborations and partnerships are so important. There are so many amazing things that so many folks in our city are working on, and fewer resources maybe than we've had in the past to do some of those things. And so that collaboration and partnerships is so key, but also trying to figure out how we can make those partnerships and collaboration truly work, truly be in partnership. So I'm excited to see what your team does in that area. And if there's things that I can do or things that other council members can do to help out, please let us know.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor. Kyle, thank you so much. Had a quick question for you. I love my supply chain 101 course back in the day where it was identify those bottlenecks and get them resolved. You had a great example of childcare licensing and how important that was. Can you tell us a little bit how bottleneck identification happens across departments? How are you encouraging the employees and all of their day-to-day at any level to think of these things, and then of course get that kind of huge master list that you'll end up having to prioritize? But how is that solicitation or
That's a really great question. And we don't have a formal inspout for that yet. The way a lot of cities do it is they have a 311 service for residents where residents can call and report problems with things. And that's often a great inspout where you can see like, wow, we're getting a whole lot of calls around this thing. We need to focus some efforts there. Unfortunately, we don't have that intake spout yet, right? And so, but often it's through conversation and collaboration that we sort of understand and talking to staff, oh, everybody's having a problem with this thing. This is also a process that's a really high value for us as an organization or for residents. And childcare was an example of this, where we heard from the community directly, this is a problem. We know childcare is a really important priority, but they don't even understand where they need to talk to us if they see a challenge.
Thinking about the public providing input, is that something you're looking at that's on your roadmap maybe for the next
Yeah.
5 or 6 months?
Definitely not over the next 5 or 6 months. A lot of cities, and we used to do this, have like a citizen survey or resident survey as a way to get clear feedback from residents. It's something that I would like to pursue at some point in the future as a direct way where we can really get clear feedback on things and where they'd want us to work. We haven't built that infrastructure yet, but I could see that being coming down the road.
And when you take a look at this master list you're going to have and have
Yeah.
to prioritize that, that can be problematic. And building a matrix, will you be working on a cross-functional team with other departments?
Yes, and ultimately it's obviously leadership's decision making about that's really our role in it is facilitating the process to make sure everybody's submitting the work that they think should be done. We usually do some lightweight scoring of things to try and make it objective, but then really have the deep conversations about, are we putting our resources on things that are really important to us? And ultimately that's not my decision, right? That's not even department director's decision, it's leadership's decision, but we want to make sure decision makers have the information that they need to be able to make that decision effectively.
Great. Well, thank you, Kyle. I really appreciate your leadership in this new organization.
Thank you.
All right. It was great to have you here.
Thank you.
Take care. Next up, this is the theme of today are all the, I shouldn't say new departments, but really the Department of Finance is the newest department too, because we carved it out of the larger one. So reports from the directors of all the new departments. Jamie Heiserling from the clerk's office, leading the clerk's office. Welcome.
All right, Madam Mayor, council members, good afternoon, and thank you for this opportunity to be here before you today. I'm excited to introduce the new department of the city clerk, which is new as of October, and share more about our dedicated team, the great work that they do, and the value that they bring to our city. Our mission is to provide exceptional customer service, support internal city stakeholders, and continually seek opportunities to enhance processes and improve experiences for those that we serve within our community. Today, I'll walk you through who we are, what we do, and the ways that we're working to make a meaningful impact, which you can see here on the slide. We have a lot of diverse work that we do within the city. Then at a broader level, I will highlight our focus areas and our goals, along with upcoming projects and the challenges and opportunities that are ahead of us. My hope is that by the end of this presentation, you'll have a solid understanding of our impact and the vital role that we play in supporting the city's operations, as well as the taxpayers of the city of Boise. So a key foundation of our work, and one that directly supports our operational goals and statutory requirements, is that of records management. It is not just about storing documents. It's about ensuring transparency, efficiency, and maintaining statutory compliance while also mitigating risk to the city. The city manages both electronic and hard copy records in multiple locations, and we have to be responsive and provide access to these records to our citizens as well as to our staff members. So what this means is that we are stewards of these records and that we provide leadership for the entire city for records management. We really are the citywide program administrators for the records of the city. That means that we develop the policies. It means that we develop the standards in accordance with state law, and that we make sure that us as a city are following those standards, that we're providing training, that we're making sure there's compliance across the city. Our team also provides technical support for all of the various systems in which we manage these records through. We also are required statutorily to have a records retention schedule, which defines what our records are and how long we have to keep those records. Then we are also responsible for preserving our records in accordance with that retention schedule and disposing of them per that retention schedule as well. As I mentioned, we do have a record center that is managed off-site. We have a team of folks that actually maintain the center. We make sure that our records are organized in that center and that we are providing access and delivering records, so on and so forth from that center. So again, we have that access. We also are responsible for maintaining and responding to public records requests that come to the city. We have a number of those, which I'll talk about here shortly. But important to note that when we get this volume of records requests, that we have 3 to 10 days statutorily to respond to these requests. If they're extremely large, we can get an extension on that, but that is the typical turnaround for staff. So to illustrate the scope of what all of that means, I wanted to really walk through some of the statistics today. So talking about public records requests, we had over 3,500 requests in 2024, and all the stats today I'll be talking about are from 2024, just so we have a full year of statistics. But over 3,500 requests that just came through the clerk's office. By no means does this include the requests, which are voluminous, that go to the police department, so those are counted separately. But 3,500 or over 3,500 that have just come through the clerk's office. So those come through us. Our team dispatches those out to the other various departments that need to respond to those requests. So that is a large volume of work that we're seeing increasing all the time as the city grows. At our record center, we have approximately 6,500 boxes. You can see in the picture here an example of some of our shelving in the boxes. We also have rooms with microfilm, annual reports, comprehensive plans, and maps as well that are kept track of, that are managed within our system so we can find the records when they are requested. We had 718 box requests in 2024, and what that means is that when somebody needs to fill a request in another department or when the public needs access, we have to go to our record center, we pull those boxes, we get the information for the folks that need them. We may deliver them to a different department or bring them back to City Hall. But we also have to track those. We have to know where they are to maintain the integrity of those records. Then we have to go back and put those back into the record center once a department is done with those. We all have electronic records on servers and various systems that we use to support the public. But in addition, we also have an on-base content management system that we manage, which has almost 4 million records in it. And we also manage a standards committee for on-base that allows us to maintain the integrity of that system and the findability of records within that system. As we talked earlier, disposition of records, once they hit retention, we need to be getting rid of those records if appropriate. We destroyed 204 boxes in 2024 and over 250,000 electronic records in 2024. This process includes departments validating that, yes, what they put in many years ago is, in fact, what was there in that box in particular, getting rid of that, making sure they don't need it for any current projects. Our team also reviews that information, as does legal, to make sure there's no outstanding litigation on any of those topics. And then also arts and history reviews to make sure there's no historical significance, or if there is, then they will pull those records and ultimately we come to you with a resolution. So it is quite a process to go through each of those boxes and documents. So alongside records management, our office also plays a vital role in legislative support. This is another statutorily required function that ensures compliance with open meeting laws, proper documentation of government actions, and upholding our values of a transparent government. This includes a large range of administrative support functions, which are all listed here. I won't go through every single one of them, but want to share an example. When we talk about meeting management, that encompasses a whole lot of things. You guys see Kylie here at pretty much every single council meeting, and she provides the creation and coordination with departments to create the agendas for these meetings, as well as other boards and commissions. She does the minutes. She is here clerking these meetings. She's also making sure that legal notices, signatures after the fact and the like are all taken care of. So it seems like it's just a quick administrative function, but there is a lot that goes into that. And this is not certainly an exhaustive list, but a list of some of the things that we do. In addition, Kylie and her team also provide training for everyone else in the city with regards to open meeting law, making sure that they understand the processes, understand the systems that we use. And so that training and citywide system support is something her team does very well. When we look at what is done by the numbers, and again, focusing on 2024, but also focusing just on the clerk's office, certainly there's other boards and commissions that have their own support throughout the city. But our team, Kylie and her team, have supported and clerked 76 board and commission meetings. Again, that's agendas, legal notices, minutes, and the like, with 711 resolutions adopted and 33 ordinances as well. Oftentimes, if those ordinances have code changes, there's a whole codification process and a third party that we work with to make sure our code is up to date on the website, so on and so forth. We also had 2 judicial reviews in 2024, and just at a high level, when a decision-making body such as yourself makes a decision, we can receive a judicial review challenging that decision. For our office, we are required to compile all of the data, all of the different meetings, transcripts, and everything to go along with that to create a record for the courts in a very specific format in a very tight timeline, which often precedes anything else that we are working on at the moment. So shifting of priorities. So while my entire team is customer service focused, both internally and externally, the permitting and licensing team, I really do feel is that first impression of the city. They answer the phones. You see them when you walk into the lobby. They help direct customers to whether it's planning or utility billing or help them with anything that we do at the front counter. So I really appreciate their professionalism and how they help and greet our customers on a daily basis. They support our parking services by taking in appeals for parking tickets, parking payments, signing people up for court. They also support our code compliance team. They issue animal licenses as well as business license applications. I've talked to many of you before, but the city does not just have general business licensing, and you guys all know that based on what we do, but rather we focus on areas deemed to impact the health and safety of our community. These include things like food and beverage, alcohol, taxis, whether that is vehicles or drivers. They also do licensing for security companies, vendors, solicitors, and the list goes on. In fact, there's 40 different licenses that we issue throughout the city for different business types. This team also coordinates very closely with other city departments such as fire, forestry, planning to make sure that before we issue a license, all of those other safety components and requirements of the city are also met. So what this means is this team has served over 20,000 customers in 2024. That's over the phone, in person, online, and via email. Many times we have multiple interactions with one customer. They may submit an online application, but later have to come in and be fingerprinted because again, with that goal in health and safety, we want to make sure that we have the right people in the right roles to ensure the safety of our community. So with that, they fingerprinted almost 3,500 people, issued over 12,000 licenses, and brought in revenue of approximately $900,000 in 2024. Again, I commend this team because there's 40 different license types that they issue licenses for. Each one of these licenses has a very specific section of code with very specific requirements, very specific documentation that is required. This team has to know the details and the ins and outs for each license type. In addition, they have to be able to express that and share that information with our customers so they also know what to expect and how to have a successful licensing process. Certainly, last but not least are city elections, which really has the largest impact on our team in odd-numbered years. While we host early voting for primary and general elections, we also have other statutory obligations. And pleased to partner with Ada County, as you guys have probably seen walking through the lobby right now, we are hosting early voting, which is just really a great service. And I appreciate Ada County's partnership in allowing us to do that and providing another voting location for our citizens. But as far as our statutory obligations, we are required to accept the declaration of candidacies for candidates. Just all of you work with our office to do this every other year, usually, or every couple of years. We have to verify that those running for office are actually qualified to run for office. We communicate and transmit ballot languages to Ada County for each candidate and any ballot measures. We have legal notices that we have to publish, and we also have to certify official election results. In addition, if there's any ballot initiatives or citizen initiatives, our team works very closely with Ada County and our legal department to make sure that those are all validated and done in the appropriate manner in accordance with state law. Additionally, I appreciate our community engagement team who also helps keep all of this straight for us and for anybody running for office as well as our citizens by having this information available on our website. So with all of that being said, you can see that what we do is a very large body of work and it's very diverse every day. And this is supported by a team of 12 members, including myself. I'll just quickly walk through the positions, but we have our legislative and records supervisor, who you guys know as Kylie because you interact with her often. She has one person to support her in legislative management. She has one person to support her in records management. We currently have a temp position to backfill for a position that has really helped us move the needle in some projects and backlog that we have had. So we really, really appreciate that additional support, but just important to see that that body of work is Kylie and 2 team members on the day-to-day. We also have a licensed record support tech who helps us manage our policies to our systems and making sure that those are in alignment. They also provide a lot of data and answer policy questions for the citizens who have that higher level of need for policy clarification. We have our customer service supervisor who also helps customers on a daily basis and manages the 5 permit and license specialists, which do all of our licensing and that frontline customer support. We have a business analyst who is our liaison with IT and really makes sure that our IT systems are up and functioning and operational and helps us if we have challenges. And then myself, the city clerk and director. So a very small team that does a lot of work, as you have seen. In addition to the day-to-day work of the department that I outlined previously, this team also has a lot of big projects on their plate, many of them being citywide projects. The first 2 on this list will impact every single department in the city. And in fact, the second one will impact every single board and commission in the city as well. So the PRR project is a replacement system. It will replace our existing homegrown public records request system. This really is to maintain our commitment to transparency and being a responsive government, minimizing that risk and creating efficiencies even across our own departments as we're filling a huge number of requests that continue to grow year over year. We're also hoping that this will consolidate all of our PRR systems into one system and one solution. And again, just really help us manage that large number of requests while maintaining our transparency. Our legislative management system is what you guys use to get your agendas, how we submit items for council consideration and the like. And that system is currently end of life, so we do not have an option but to replace this system in the coming year. The third project is one that was previously approved by mayor and council to consolidate and combine our records and archive centers. So currently we are in 2 locations. But the teams in arts and history and in the clerk's office are working very diligently and have been for months to consolidate these 2 locations. What this will do is enhance access to the public. We will have enhanced security, space optimization, and then we will have regular public access to these records and for people to do research, which is really exciting. In order to successfully manage all of these large-scale projects and the day-to-day tasks that we are working on, we are also implementing a project management tool. This will help us as a new department, track our metrics, track competing projects, provide data so we can make informed business decisions and prioritize our work in a meaningful way for the team that is very organized. And then lastly, as a new department, we are continuing to assess our operational structure because as you can see, we have a large body, particularly of statutorily required work that we have to do, and it's being completed by very few staff. And for the most part, most of these are frontline staff. So we will be looking for ways as we move forward to continue to optimize our staffing structure to meet customer demands and really minimize the risk for the city. So in conclusion, when we're looking at the challenges and opportunities ahead for our department, I think one of the biggest takeaways with establishing us as a new department is that it marks a significant elevation of our role within the organizational structure. Previously, we were housed in the Department of Finance and Administration. And of course, they had a very large focus on finances, which they should, right? But I think what this really does for us is it really elevates our work and makes our work a little bit more visible. And we can be prioritized in alignment with the needs of the city. I think we're better positioned to provide citywide support in multiple areas. And again, as statutorily required in many cases by law. Many of these areas carry inherent risks, including potential litigation, making it imperative that we really have the necessary resources to fill our responsibilities and obligations. I also think that being able to budget as a department will also help us appropriately, strengthen what we're working on and make sure that we have the right resources in the right places and that we're tracking that accordingly to really hit our goals and track the costs of what it really takes to do the business of the city. Additionally, this really allows us to engage leadership in meaningful discussions, advocate for the critical issues that are before us in our department, and ensure that vital topics receive the attention they deserve. The transition represents not only a structural change for us, but also the commitment to reinforce the city's ability to manage our statutory obligations with clarity and support and foresight. So as you can see, the city clerk's office really is more than just an administrative function. It really is a key driver to effective governance, citizen engagement, and organizational efficiency. As we move forward, myself and my team are really excited to continue to improving processes, strengthening collaboration, and ensuring that our services align with all of the city's priorities. So with that, we welcome your support, feedback, and engagement to make our department even more impactful. So with that, I will stand for any questions.
Thank you, Jamie.
Jamie, thanks so much for the presentation. Your team, mighty team of 12, is doing a lot of work out there for us. Thank you. I had just a couple of questions for you. I know with our offsite record storage and banker boxes, it's never an ideal situation. Is there a plan in place to look at digitizing those records at some point in time?
Madam Mayor, Council Member, there are a lot of records out there. We have looked at digitizing. A lot of times it is what is the ROI on that and what is the staff availability for that. So that's something that we could look at moving forward, something that we really haven't seen the ROI in some cases, but certainly want to have more of a vision and a plan. And I know that the city has been a lot more focused on records and kind of where we're going. So that is one of the goals of our department, is having that strategic plan and moving that forward. So more to come on that front.
Great. A couple other questions for your new PRR system. What system have you selected a system?
Madam Mayor, Council Member, we have not. We've had initial vendor meetings with a handful of vendors and are looking at demos in the next couple of weeks.
Great. And then a question on your project management tool that you guys are going to be moving towards. Have you picked a tool there?
Madam Mayor, Council Member, we are using Orchestra, which is what had been adopted by the larger organization, to my understanding. And so those are things that I believe that's a system that is going to replace our existing EPP tool. And so we just wanted to make sure that we were using the same tool, that we could prioritize and then move things through the system as they needed to be at the citywide level as well.
Wonderful. Thank you. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor. No questions, just some gratitude. Thank you for your leadership in figuring out this new department. Of all the departments at the city, this would be the last one anyone would put me in charge of. I would have some sort of like weird Michael Scott sorting system of files, and it would never work. And I'm so glad that we have your team with your skills, because it really is incredibly helpful. Your frontline workers that are there every single day sometimes have to deal with some of the decisions that we make up here on council and leadership. And I know that that's not an easy job. And I really appreciate all of their work with that. Whenever I do have questions to the city clerk's office, sometimes I feel like I hit send, and then almost by the time I'm done hitting send, I get a response. And so your team's always extremely responsive whenever I'm reaching out, and it's made my job a lot easier. And then the last, I want to thank Kylie and her team as well. Every single meeting that I go to, I look through the transcripts, whether it's a Parks and Rec Commission, Planning and Zoning Commission, whatever it may be, and it informs every single decision that I make. And I know I'm not the only one here on council. So it's incredibly important. It's incredibly effective, and it's made my job significantly easier. So thank you again for all the hard work. If there are things that council can do to make your job easier, please let us know.
Thank you.
Well, Jamie, thank you to you and your team. It was great to have you here for the presentation. You're doing great work. You really have. You've gotten a department up and running, and especially around the public records request work and the records retention work. Appreciate the partnerships and collaboration that you have and other departments have shared in being responsive and getting to what the council and myself really want to see with regard to greater transparency and speed where possible and less work where possible for public records. Thank you very much.
Madam Mayor, thank you. And certainly could not do it without the full team of individuals that I have working for me. So thank you to all of them as well. Thank you.
All right. And now we've got a Department of Finance update from Eric Bilmoria.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, members of the council. It's my pleasure to be here this afternoon to provide an overview of the Finance Department. Having served as the director for the past 9 months, it's been one of the highest honors of my professional career to lead a team as dedicated to serving as the fine folks in the Finance Department are. This afternoon, I'll provide a high-level overview of how the Finance Department is structured, some of the changes that have been made over the past year, and a brief overview of the work that is done within the department. Before diving into the presentation, I wanted to briefly address that for much of the time I've been in this role, I was effectively doing double duty, simultaneously remaining in the budget manager role. The budget office leadership team, Travis Black, Jesse Stevenson, and Justin Erickson were instrumental in my transition and in showing me grace as I juggled 2 very big responsibilities. They continue to serve the city with enthusiasm and dedication that's been so pivotal to our success. And now with Alicia McAndrews joining the city in late January as our new budget manager and doing a great job contributing to the FY26 budget build, we're very well positioned for success into the future. This slide provides a high-level overview of our purpose and organizational structure. As you can see on the slide, the Finance Department manages the city's resources to support public services, promote long-term organizational health, ensure transparency, and safeguard the public's funds. You can see here how the Finance Department is organized. We have 6 divisions, including administration, and 7 specific financial disciplines included within the department. Each of the senior leaders of the team are responsible for a broad portfolio of assignments. We have many of those leaders here with us today. I really enjoyed learning at a deeper level about all the work that the other divisions outside of the budget office do on a day-to-day basis. Some high-level statistics on the Finance Department. The fiscal year 25 budget for the Finance Department was just south of $8 million. Representing just over 2% of the total $345 million general fund budget. Authorized FTE count was just over 60%, representing approximately 3% of the 2,100 positions authorized within the city. Some activity highlights from fiscal year 2024. Treasury managing a investment portfolio of just under $600 million. The revenue division managing nearly 250 transactions, unique transactions and processes, and responsible for over 100 revenue contracts. Our purchasing team generated nearly $800,000 in surplus revenue and administering over 600 contracts. Our grants division partnering with other departments as well, bringing in over $8 million in discretionary awards during fiscal year 24. The budget office processing over 100 interim budget changes. Our accounts payable team processing over 50,000 invoices and 40,000 P-card transactions. And then the accounting team and the budget team doing day-to-day financial administration and planning for over 20 funds, 18 departments, and 750 general ledger accounts. As of January 2025, the finance department is operating under a new model. In previous presentations, we've talked some about Finance 3.0, which was our department reorganization. Some goals of that reorganization were to create an optimal structure to support the organization moving forward, including a new financial system, to strengthen strategic and analytic partnerships with the departments that we work with each day, and to promote consistency through standardization and centralization. We did complete the first stage of Finance 3.0 at the tail end of calendar year 2024. That included realigning all of our positions under that new organizational structure. As part of that realignment, there were over 625 task transitions that were identified, and there was a documented process to work through each of those task transitions. The timing for that department reorganization coincided with the larger citywide reorganization, where the city clerk, the fleet, code enforcement, print and mail, and special events were shifted out of the Department of Finance and Administration. And moving forward, we're no longer DFA or Finance and Administration. We are simply the Finance Department. This new structure results in establishing more specialized focus for each of the department divisions within finance that will yield positive results for the organization. So I'm going to go through each of the various disciplines at a very high level. I'm not going to speak to all of the various tasks and responsibilities within each group. But our accounting division, led by Sabrina, is just under 10 people. They coordinate the annual financial audit. Every year we are excited to bring forward a clean audit. Review grant and bond transactions, seek reimbursements, and handle reporting to agencies. Compiling information for internal and external reporting. Maintenance of our general ledger, and then developing technical accounting conclusions and disclosures, among many other responsibilities. Sabrina also oversees the accounts payable division within the finance department. That division has 13 positions. That has a broad array of responsibilities as well. Creation of purchase orders, processing invoices, processing our P cards, ensure accurate coding of expenses. There's a large volume of work within that specific discipline. The budget office, led by Alicia McAndrews, has 13 positions. Some of the responsibilities I'll highlight include coordination of the citywide operating and capital budgets, doing long-term financial planning, in-year forecasting and budget to actuals monitoring, and tax policy and property tax rebate program. The grants division, led by Mary Brown, has 4 positions. They work both on pre-award and post-award activities associated with grants, partnering with the mayor's office and departments to develop various funding strategies and approaches, working towards a centralized application development and submission process, also working on monitoring, reporting, and compliance associated with our grants. I'm going to highlight just a few of the other things that the grants team has been working on. The grants team is actively monitoring the federal landscape in terms of changing grant availability and changing terms of grants. Case by case, they're helping to determine which grants move forward. They are seeking indirect cost recovery to maximize our federal funds, and they're working to implement a citywide grant management software. Our purchasing division, led by Missy Grohaus, has 7 positions within it. Some of the activities include the acquisition of goods, services, and equipment necessary for all city departments to complete their core work, managing the full life cycle of contracts, and then overseeing the disposition of city surplus property. Our Treasury Division, led by David Hasegawa, has 4 positions. That Treasury Division serves as the custodian for all city funds, manages all investments of the city, also manages the city's debt program. The Treasury Division collaborates with departments to finance some of our most significant capital projects, including water renewal facilities and various airport facilities as well. The Revenue Division also falls under David Hasegawa. The Revenue Division provides financial services and support to nearly every department at the city, excluding the airport, ensures timely recognition and accurate coding, and as I mentioned previously, manages nearly 250 unique transactions and processes on a daily basis. The Administration Division, including myself, has 4 FTE, includes department and project management, oversees strategic planning within the department, provides administrative support, operations coordination, and then development and tracking of departmental priorities. It's a high-level overview of the work that's completed within the Department of Finance. I'd be happy to stand for any questions that you might have.
Well, thank you, Eric. Questions?
Eric, when you're helping write the city's full budget, do you ever get a little selfish and want to keep the FTEs that are going out for your own department? Does that ever happen?
We have to play it fair.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, this might be another department you wouldn't want me leading. Actually, I love the budget. I love finances. This is an area that I have a lot of passion about because a good budget really is a representation of the city's values and what the story is of the city and what it is trying to do. Your team has provided incredible resources for us to tell that story for our community members and for us to get this work done. When Kyle was presenting earlier, I was actually thinking about your department a lot when it comes to change management, because I was thinking about the change that happens when there's political change. And that could be political change as council members, mayors, governors, and certainly even at the federal level, and what some of the challenges your department must be facing right now with some of the uncertainty with some of the grant funds and things along those lines. And you had a slide there that talked about that. And I was wondering if you could maybe dive in there a little bit deeper as far as how that department is adapting and working with sort of a changing grant landscape and what sort of opportunities and threats may exist there.
Councilmember Halliburton, thank you for that question. Yeah, it's certainly an interesting time for the grants division. Right now, one of the primary focuses of the grants division is creating a underlying foundation that can be used to sustain that division, from a long-term perspective, regardless of what things are looking like at the federal level or whatever that may be. So working to centralize decision-making processes, the application process, working to develop a singular point of information. Right now, we have very disparate ways to find where our grants are in the various stages. So we are working to implement a grants management software that will enable, I think, more timely decision-making and reporting to the council.
Great, thank you. And I really do appreciate that grants team. Again, going back to Kyle's presentation, I think we talked a little bit about the importance of partnerships and collaboration. And we do get these grants and we want to make sure that we're using the money correctly, efficiently, that we're getting the most impact as possible. And some of those partnerships, I think of like the Bloomberg Foundation and how those partnerships and those collaborations have empowered so much work and how your team has played such a big role in that. So I do think that that's an area this next several years that we'll have to be really looking to a little bit more, like how do we find these other partnerships, again, similar to Bloomberg and other areas that maybe we haven't explored as much in the past, where we've maybe been relying on other, perhaps federal grants or funds that have come in that may be a little bit more uncertain or predictable. So again, appreciate your team there and definitely interested on how we can support that grants department in sort of this time of fluctuation and creativity.
Thank you so much. And I love that your team joined you too. Thank you all very much. Alrighty, we have an executive session.
Madam Mayor, I'd move that we move. I don't know. I got nothing. Madam Mayor, I move that we go into executive session pursuant to Idaho Code 74-2061B C D F I J to consider the acquisition of real property.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, clerk?
Morales,
Yes.
Nash,
Yes.
Stead,
Yes.
Corliss,
Yes.
Halliburton,
Yes.
all in favor, motion carries.
We will be back at 6 o'clock. For those of you that are in here already, welcome, everybody.